The low-fat cookie catastrophe. I'm Jason Horton.
I'm Rebecca Lieb.
And this is Ghost Town.
Excuse me, do you make these delicious fat-free SnackWell double scoop cookies?
Why, yes, I do.
You want to tell us why we can't find them in the stores anymore?
What is this?
You got some explaining to do, Cookie Man.
Yeah.
We're a little more popular than we expected.
Ooh, this guy's quick.
We're making more as fast as we can.
Oh, you're breaking my heart.
Hey, I just make the cookies. You want the big boys upstairs.
The makers of fat-free SnackWell's Devil's Food Cookies apologize for the short supply.
I was out the other day very safely at my local grocery store, perusing the cookie aisle, because I needed to get...
Essentials.
Yeah, exactly. Only essentials. I'm a simple woman who buys 40 different cookies.
You need sustenance. You
I
just
do,
want to survive.
Okay? Come on, I need my nutrients, which is mostly hazelnut-based, okay? And I looked up, and I was in a Vons, and I saw a SnackWell's cookie box, like on the top shelf, like not prime real estate. And it was like a trauma. It was like a trauma of my childhood because my mom had every SnackWells, every type. We always had them in our house. I didn't realize that they were still being sold, but they are. And so I had to go deep and see what happened to the SnackWell's cookie because I do that for you.
I think their marketing must have been successfully targeted to mothers because my mother had them as well.
Yeah,
I mean, they were
green package.
That green with the dark cookie on it, the white writing.
Exactly.
And green is not like necessarily like, ooh, I got to pick up this green box of cookies.
No, when you think about cookies, especially like I did a little bit of research at the last show that I worked on about sales and colors. Green, especially that like really like bright green, is not really a high selling color. It's usually like natural understated tones or things that seem more like chocolatey or things that seem more like indulgent, even a white background and like a color that pops. So yeah, the green SnackWell's box itself is already counterintuitive.
They did something right.
They did something right, and then they did something very wrong. SnackWell's has been around since 1992, and the big thing about them was that they were fat-free, which meant, at that point, healthier. The U.S. was going through a big no-fat health craze, which came from a call for reduction in fat, but not carbs, from the USDA. There are lots and lots and lots and lots of carbs in a SnackWell's cookie, 18 grams, 7% of your daily value, and I believe the serving size is 2 cookies. So if you're eating a bunch of cookies, you're getting up there with
and the
carbs.
sugar is up
out of
there.
out of control. But yeah, I think carbs was really the thing that they got kind of nailed for eventually, having that many carbs. Because I think with cookies too, you assume that there's a lot of sugar. Most cookies don't have this many carbs.
Well, you hear low fat, and you're like, well, I don't want fat on my body. And the fat in the cookie is the same chemical makeup as the fat in my body, right? And then people, especially in the 80s, low fat. Low fat, high carbs was, and then everyone was like, why are we all fat?
Yeah.
Then, there was Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers. And how come with so many gyms, so many
curves,
diet plans out there, so many supplements, why is there so much of that so available, yet there's still this system
working,
this cycle that we can't get out of with obesity or diabetes? I get my levels checked.
Yeah, you
I'm
get
of that
your levels
age.
checked.
My A1C's
for sure.
checked.
Not me. I'm a barely legal, eating Cheetos, drinking Diet Dr. Pepper. We got a mountain of cookies next to us. Same thing with the shakes, like a lot of the Slim Fast shakes. I remember drinking those when I was like 15. And being like, oh, okay, like I can do this. My mom doing it. And again, none of that stuff, they were so...
Did it taste like the metal can?
Yeah, oh yeah, but like the chocolate was really gross. The chocolate also, like a chalky chocolate. That's why I was never like a huge SnackWell's fan. That like mealy, kind of like tinny, chemical-y chocolate was never my thing. Give me chemical vanilla or butterscotch or peanut butter, I am absolutely on board. But chocolate... not a big thing. According to PBS Frontline, SnackWell's carbohydrate count might have helped contribute to the obesity epidemic of that time. It obviously is still like a gigantic thing now, but it is cited as something that really like pushed this idea of health and what is healthy and what is good, quote unquote, and bad to eat so hard. And I remember it as a kid. I remember like, this is good and this is bad. And again, I think it just messed with all of our minds collectively. and was a gigantic fail. And still, that's why it's up on the top shelf right now, covered in dust.
Also, right now or for a while, at least most people realize that low fat and high sugar is an issue. Then there's also the flip of like we talked about the Atkins diet.
Yeah.
So we're actually just talking about the flip side of the Atkins diet.
Yeah,
in a way.
pretty much.
And now things like paleo and keto and less carbs and less sugar and wherever you fall on that spectrum is where you do. But this would be kind of these polar opposites. Lead to a lot of kind of dissension in the ranks.
Every 10 years, there's a new study that comes out that says like eggs have, it's like, this is good, this is bad, whatever, etc. But there's really not a lot of arguing that this cookie was really bad for you. SnackWell's cookies were developed by Nabisco's longtime head food scientist, Sam Porcello. He is thought to be one of the world's leading experts on cocoa, but most famously is known for creating the Oreo cream filling in the Oreo cookie. And like engineering that like perfect. We have some Oreos right here, some double stuffed.
I ate 6 of them, but I still don't really understand what they are. I think I need another 6.
Yeah, you got to keep testing it. I get it. You're going to do the work for this guy. He has 5 patents directly related to the Oreo. He's a New Jersey native. Hello. He was a teacher for a while, then worked for the Charms Company, creator of the Tootsie Pop, and was almost hired by big cosmetics companies, but didn't get any jobs with them because they found out that he was a communist and also that he was colorblind. So
interesting.
I know, kind of an interesting. I did a bit of a deep dive on him because I was like, who the fuck is this guy that created the Devil's Food SnackWell's cookie? Turns out he's also created another one of my beloved favorites, the Oreo. So Porcello got hired doing research for Nabisco, moved into SnackWell's territory, and bailed in 1993 after 34 years in the industry, a year after SnackWells were introduced to the public. SnackWells initially were cream, shortbread, and Devil's Food cookies, all fat-free. The most popular, SnackWell's Devil's Food, boasted no high-fructose corn syrup, no partially hydrogenated oils, and no artificial flavors, colors, and preservatives. They had this kind of chewy chocolate outer, like, crust. Crust is not the right word. You can almost,
break it, right?
Yeah,
it was shatters
like a
a
shell.
little bit.
It was like a shell, but that's not the right word. Yeah. It's like it was like a skin. Skin is a great word for it.
You should work for their marketing.
Thank you. They had a marshmallow film underneath, and inside that delicious, chemically soft Devil's Food cookie cake. So they were introduced in 1992. All of the cookies sold out in 3 months, and people went nuts. They would follow trucks of SnackWell's delivery. They would hoard cookies.
I can't imagine anyone hoarding anything these days.
Yeah, it's totally irrelevant. Totally all about realm of expertise. They were all about those Devil's Food cookies. In 1995, SnackWell's sales peaked at about $490 million of sales of tiny diet cookies. And I also remember, and I couldn't quite I don't know exactly how much they were sold, but they were expensive cookies. They were like $6 for a box. And I didn't see what it was when I just saw
That's a small price to pay when you can eat as many as you want and not gain any weight.
Exactly. They were like a miracle cookie, right? Exactly. Everything that they said was true and delivers. And actually, this isn't a fail at all. The end. Just kidding. Yeah. In 2013, SnackWell's, then part of Mondelez International, was acquired by the Back to Nature Foods Company in a joint venture formed by Mondelez and a private equity firm. Back to Nature had to build a new delivery system which would make the cookies more available. So that was like the big impetus for the change, was like, even in 2013, these were popular cookies, and they still needed to be distributed, and they always had problems getting the supply to the demand. The fat-free craze, though, was really waning by then. So the cookies were really falling out of favor anyway. But even that little supply was still in demand because there was such a loyal following. And actually, with what we'll talk about a little bit later, people, if you liked SnackWell's cookies, especially the Devil's Food, you loved them. It was the thing. And again, you still had that fat-free kind of mentality. The fat-free craze was really waning by then, and the flavor of the cookies, namely the Devil's Food, became more of a gritty, unpalatable kind of a joke at that point. Because again, it was fat-free wasn't a thing anymore. They had been bought to something else. In August 2017, B&G Foods bought SnackWell's cookies and Back to Nature granola for $162.5 million. As of last year, SnackWell's Devil's Food cookies are no longer fat-free, containing an improved formula, which includes 3 grams of fat per serving and a different configuration of cookie, marshmallow, and chocolate. And people hated it. So it was already hard to get them. Then they sold from company to company, rebranded it, redistributed it, and then they changed the recipe on the only fan base at this point that they had. It was 2017. And people were livid. And just like that, SnackWell's fate was sealed. So I'm going to read you some of the new and improved cookie reviews. SnackWell's pissed off customer, 1 star. I used to eat these growing up, but they were my grandma's favorite, and everything about the cookie was amazing. But what I loved especially was the calories. It used to be 50 per serving, but now it's 120 per serving. Not only is it more fattening now, but it's absolutely disgusting. There is nothing improved about this. You absolutely destroyed your company with this. I won't be buying anymore, and I'm sad to say I've wasted my money on what used to be my favorite, more healthy treat. You should be ashamed. User's recommendation? Do not buy this ever. All caps. SnackWells, the new Devil's Food cookies are gross. 1 star. Bring back the old recipe. These are trash. Thanks.
Oh, is it thanks?
Nabisco, give me back the Devil's Food cookie I've always treasured. The square one. 1 star. They still all get 1 stars. I've always treasured the Devil's Food cookie. The square one is by far the best. My mom used to buy them, and I'm sure she enjoyed them one at a time. They have always been on the expensive side, so do not eat them all at one time. Like having a prize in the cabinet, a treasure to find, one more left. And there's like 4...
Is this fan fiction?
There's 4 exclamation points after every sentence. I was so disappointed this time to find something different in the box. The whole round cookie is not good. Too much thick cookie, too much thick marshmallow, and the chocolate coating is not the same either. Just don't mix the same in your mouth. Please go back to recipe of square cookie, or at least provide a choice, better square cookie or not so good round cookie. Also, do not like your title, Pissed Consumer, which is the name of the website. Dissatisfied customer would be better.
She's got criticisms for everything.
Exactly.
She's on a roll.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like guns are blazing.
While we're at it. So all of this happened. SnackWell sales plummeted, but it did create something called what economists call the SnackWell effect. And it is the name for the tendency to consume greater quantities of an item or service deemed morally superior, such as a healthier cookie or more energy efficient lighting,
12-pack
or
of Diet Mountain Dew.
Yeah, I would never do that. You would never do that. Shut up. I want to thank Time Magazine, New York Daily News, the New York Times, and of course SnackWells for triggering me in that grocery store.
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter what people like, if whether it's worse for you or really doesn't do what it says. People like that familiarity, and the fact that when this is my grandmother ate those SnackWells makes me feel very old because it's not that old of a cookie.
No. Well, also they talk about like, we've been eating these for 40 years. And I was like, no, you haven't. A lot of the reviews were like, we've been eating this for generations. And I'm like, when? What?
I mean, I guess if there's a short time in between their children having children, I suppose. Depends what it is.
Maybe, but I feel like when I was reading about the SnackWell effect, I was like, isn't that just like everything that I encounter
I would say
now?
and I like to stick it to Jamba Juice when I can.
Oh.
And if they have
When you
healthy things
can.
when I can. And right now I can. Yeah. They have a lot of, obviously, they have oranges and they'll have, carrots or whatever, but you're drinking a bucket of sugar.
Yeah.
And that's really what you're drinking. And you're like, this is healthy. This will make my body optimal. And it won't. Not everything there is like that, but that general idea of getting this huge jug of sugar. And it's not all like, well, it's all freshly squozen vegetables. I say squozen. They're not. It's usually they'll add in some concentrates and fillers and ice.
Yeah,
coming after you, Jamba Juice.
Exactly.
Who's next?
I have a very quick Jamba Juice story. In college, there was one right on State Street, in Madison, and one time I got so drunk at the apartment above it, off of Everclear, which is illegal to be sold, that I vomited over the balcony onto the Jamba Juice. So I'm a freedom fighter.